Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into something often just chalked up to getting older, but well, our sources show it's a major player in a lot of modern health problems. We're talking about sarcopenia.
Right.
Now, you might hear losing muscle and think, okay, what's the big deal? Maybe a bit weaker,
Mm-hmm.
but what if it's like way more fundamental? What if it's messing with your body's whole system, kind of quietly setting the stage for chronic diseases we all want to avoid?
Exactly.
So our mission today is to dig deeper than just, weak muscles. We want to connect the dots between muscle mass, your metabolism, and your long-term health based on what the research is telling us. It might challenge some common ideas about aging.
Yeah, it probably will.
Okay, let's unpack this.
And I think what we'll find is it's not just about strength, not just aesthetics. The research really paints muscle as this critical internal defense, like a sort of metabolic life insurance for your body.
Metabolic life insurance, I like that.
We're going to explore just how vital that insurance is and what happens when those premiums lapse, so to speak, when it starts to decline.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is sarcopenia?
Well, fundamentally, it's the process where you lose striated muscle mass.
Right, the muscles you consciously use, your arms, legs, chest, glutes, the ones you can, flex.
Pretty much, yeah, the voluntary muscles.
And, okay, it is true that to some extent it's part of aging. Our sources say for most people this process kind of kicks in subtly around, what, 40, 45?
Around that age, yes. And the pattern can differ.
Like for women, there's often a more noticeable, sometimes quite abrupt drop in this muscle mass after menopause. Hormones play a big role there, obviously.
A very big role. Estrogen decline is a key factor.
Whereas men, maybe because they generally have higher testosterone, they tend to see that decline a bit later, maybe more around 55 or 60.
Typically, yes. They often have a bit more of a buffer, metabolically speaking, and might compensate for stress a bit better initially. So yes, aging is definitely part of the picture.
But here's where it gets interesting, right?
Mm-hmm. What's fascinating and really important to grasp is that while it's associated with aging, it's definitely not only an age thing.
Yeah.
Our sources point to a whole range of non-aging causes. I mean, think about immobilization. Someone has a bad accident, they're laid up in hospital.
Muscles waste away fast.
Incredibly fast.
Oh, yeah.
Or astronauts. They're super fit, but the lack of gravity, big problem for muscle mass.
Oh, yeah.
Then there are diseases. Things like HIV, cancer, they can directly cause it. Even treatments for cancer, like chemotherapy.
Right, the treatments themselves can be tough on muscle.
Absolutely. And certain medications, like corticoids, steroids, are known culprits. And here's one that might surprise people. Overtraining.
Overtraining, like working out too much.
Exactly. Pushing the body with excessive mechanical and physiological stress without enough recovery can actually lead to muscle loss. So you see, it's much broader than just, getting older.
That really changes the perspective. Astronauts, people recovering from injury, even potentially those pushing too hard in the gym. It makes you realize how maybe vulnerable this muscle tissue is.
It is. It's metabolically active tissue that requires the right signals and support.
Which brings us right to the core issue, the reason we're diving deep today. The consequences, the physiological fallout from losing this muscle. It's profound. It's far-reaching.
Well, absolutely. This is where the connections become really clear and honestly quite concerning.
So talk us through that. How does losing muscle impact overall health beyond just strength?
Well, the research is pretty unequivocal. Sarcopenia is a major, major risk factor for a worse outcome in many, many diseases.
Like what?
Take cancer, for example.
Wow.
Especially advanced cancer, say stage 4 with metastasis. If a patient also has sarcopenia, the disease tends to progress much faster. Yes, it increases the vital risk, it weakens the immune system significantly, leading to more infections, and it ups the chance of multi-organ failure. It also makes conditions like AIDS, pneumonia, sepsis, even kidney infections, it makes the prognosis much worse.
Wow.
Essentially, your body just doesn't have the reserves, the resilience to fight effectively when muscle mass is depleted.
That's stark. But it's not just about these critical illnesses, is it? The day-to-day metabolic effects are huge, too, and maybe less obvious.
Huge and often completely overlooked. This is key. When you have less muscle, your peripheral insulin receptors don't work as well.
Meaning your body struggles more with sugar.
Exactly. It becomes less sensitive to insulin. But here's the real kicker, the part that often clicks for people.
Okay.
Less muscle means a lower basal metabolic rate, That's your energy burn at rest, just breathing, thinking, existing.
Right, the calories you burn just sitting there.
Precisely. So think about it. If you lose muscle, your metabolic engine slows down. Even if you eat exactly the same amount as before,
Start gaining weight.
you will gain weight because your body is now burning fewer calories just to maintain itself. And where does that weight tend to go?
Uh-oh, around the middle.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Primarily as abdominal and visceral fat. And the sources are crystal clear. This is the most dangerous type of fat.
And that type of fat is linked to, well, a whole laundry list of problems.
An enormous list. Metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance itself, cardiovascular diseases, even certain cancers, both benign and malignant tumors.
You mentioned specific endocrine issues, too.
Yes, things like polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, endometriosis, hyperestrogenism, and those hormone-sensitive breast and uterine cancers. The research links the inflammatory environment created by that abdominal fat directly to these conditions. It becomes this really vicious cycle.
A devastating cascade, as you said. Starts with muscle loss, slows metabolism, leads to dangerous fat gain, which then fuels more problems.
And if we connect that fat gain to the bigger picture, it really comes down to inflammation. Systemic inflammation.
Okay, explain that connection.
Our sources talk about something called lipoinflammation. It sounds technical, but the idea is simple. Those abdominal fat cells, the adipocytes, when they get inflamed, they aren't just passive storage units anymore.
They're doing something else.
They become active players. Little factories almost, pumping out inflammatory signal cytokines and attracting inflammatory immune cells like macrophages.
So the fat itself is creating inflammation.
Exactly. This contributes heavily to what people might hear called low-grade chronic systemic inflammation. It's not like an acute infection. It's this constant simmering inflammation throughout the body.
And that causes...
Oh, it has broad effects. It worsens immune function overall. It can cause muscle pain, myalgia, joint pain, contribute to things like chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia.
Things that are often hard to pin down.
Very hard. And it often leads to polypharmacy. People end up on multiple drugs. Antidepressants, benzodiazepines, muscle relaxants, anti-inflammatories, trying to manage symptoms that might actually stem from this underlying inflammation, driven partly by that visceral fat, which is driven partly by the muscle loss.
It's a complex web.
It is. And there are specific inflammatory messengers involved, like tumor necrosis factor alpha, TNF-alpha. The research highlights how TNF-alpha directly messes with those peripheral insulin receptors we talked about earlier.
Making insulin resistance worse.
Precisely. So it becomes a destructive feedback loop. Muscle loss leads to fat gain and insulin resistance. The fat causes inflammation, and the inflammation makes insulin resistance even worse.
Wow. Okay, but there's more, isn't there? Stress plays a role, too.
Yes, stress is another piece of this puzzle. Chronic stress, whether it's physical or emotional, ramps up cortisol production.
The stress hormone.
Right, and high cortisol levels can actually trigger proteolysis, breakdown of protein, specifically muscle and tendon tissue. Your body basically starts breaking down muscle to generate glucose for energy.
It's cannibalizing itself.
In a sense, yes. It's a survival mechanism gone wrong in a chronic stress scenario. It further accelerates muscle loss and feeds into that whole inflammatory cycle. It's like pouring gasoline on the fire.
So muscle loss isn't just passive wasting. Stress can actively drive it.
It absolutely can. And we shouldn't forget the mental side either. Losing strength, feeling less capable, it can be incredibly demotivating.
Yeah, I can see that.
It reduces your commitment to self-care, makes it harder to perform daily tasks you used to do easily. It becomes this downward spiral affecting body and mind, making it even tougher to break the cycle.
Okay, so given this whole picture, muscle loss leading to slower metabolism, belly fat, inflammation, insulin resistance, worsened by stress. It's understandable how people might react, right?
Yeah.
You notice you're losing muscle definition, gaining weight around the middle. What's the intuitive reaction for many people?
Probably lots of cardio and cutting calories, especially carbs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Endless hours on the elliptical, maybe a very strict low-carb diet. It feels like the logical fix. Burn more calories, cut the carbs that spike insulin.
Right. But here's the critical point, the counterintuitive truth that the research highlights.
Yeah.
That approach, focusing only on aerobic exercise and drastic carb restriction, can actually be counterproductive.
How so?
Well, excessive aerobic exercise without enough strength training to stimulate muscle maintenance or growth can actually accelerate muscle loss. It can worsen the sarcopenia.
So too much cardio could make the core problem worse.
It can, yes. If it's not balanced with resistance work, you might burn calories during the activity, but you're potentially further lowering your basal metabolic rate by losing more muscle. That's why some people do hours of cardio but still struggle with that abdominal fat.
Ah, okay. And the drastic carb cutting.
It might give some temporary relief, maybe lower insulin levels for a bit, but it doesn't fix the root cause, the reduced muscle mass and the poor insulin sensitivity at the muscle level.
So it's like a Band-Aid.
Sort of. And worse, the research suggests that when someone on a very low-carb diet does eat carbs, the reaction can be much more severe. Hypoglycemia, fatigue, headaches, bloating, more inflammation, because the underlying metabolic machinery hasn't been fixed.
Right. You haven't improved the body's ability to actually handle the carbs.
Exactly. It's like trying to patch a leaky dam without reinforcing the structure. It might hold for a bit, but the fundamental weakness is still there and maybe even getting worse.
That's a massive insight. So if the problem is fundamentally muscle loss,
Yeah.
and these common fixes can backfire, then the real solution, what our sources are calling the best anti-aging pill, it has to be strength training.
Precisely. That's the cornerstone. Our sources really hammer home the importance of a balanced exercise approach, especially starting around, say, 35 or 40.
So not abandoning cardio entirely.
Oh no, definitely not. Aerobic exercise is still fantastic. Great for your heart, lungs, circulation, the mitochondria in your cells, even your brain health and cognition. Keep doing it.
But add the strength work.
But you need the anaerobic, the strength or resistance exercise. That is the absolute game changer for fighting sarcopenia. It's what sustains your muscle mass. It is your metabolic life insurance.
Okay, so what are the specific benefits of adding that strength training?
While the list is impressive, first, it directly counteracts that abdominal fat accumulation we talked about.
By building muscle.
Yes, and by improving how your body handles energy, it maintains or even increases your basal metabolic rate. This means you burn more calories even at rest.
Which gives you more flexibility with diet.
Exactly. You can eat more, enjoy your food more, without the same consequences of weight gain. It also boosts your muscle's ability to store glycogen carbohydrate energy.
Ah, so better carb tolerance.
Much better. And crucially, it dramatically improves insulin sensitivity. This directly combats hyperinsulinemia, reduces that dangerous abdominal fat, calms down lipoinflammation, and lowers systemic inflammation.
It tackles the root causes.
It really does. Plus, there are other benefits. It improves neuromuscular recruitment, basically. Your brain gets better at talking to your muscles, making you stronger and more coordinated.
And bones. I know that's a big concern, especially for women.
Absolutely vital. Strength training stimulates mineral deposition in bones. It's one of the best ways to fight osteoporosis and reduce the risk of fractures, particularly critical after menopause.
So it's not just muscle, it's bone health too.
Yes. Ultimately, it adds up to a significantly better quality of life. And often, it leads to a reduced need for medications, anti-diabetics, antihypertensives, because you're fixing the underlying physiology.
It really sounds like muscle is this central hub for overall metabolic and physical health.
It truly is. Far more than just for movement.
And it's not just about hitting the weights, is it? The sources mentioned a more holistic view.
That's right. Strength training is key, but it works best as part of a bigger strategy.
Like nutrition.
Definitely. Getting enough protein, timing nutrients like protein and carbs around workouts to support muscle repair and growth, managing sleep effectively is also crucial. That helps regulate cortisol.
Ah, tackling that stress component we talked about.
Exactly. And sometimes addressing hormonal imbalances might be necessary, like looking into testosterone levels if they're clinically low, obviously under medical supervision.
So it needs an integrated plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The ideal scenario often involves working with healthcare professionals, maybe a doctor, a nutritionist, a good physical trainer who understand this interplay. They can help create a personalized plan that covers exercise, diet, stress management, sleep, the whole picture to support muscle health.
It's about creating the right environment for your muscles to thrive, not just survive.
That's a great way to put it.
So bringing this all together, what this deep dive really shows is that looking after your muscle mass goes way beyond vanity or just being strong. It's fundamental to your metabolic health, your immune resilience, your long-term vitality. It seems like muscle is one of your body's primary defense systems against chronic disease.
It truly acts like that internal defense, that metabolic security. Keeping it strong protects you in so many ways.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on.
Considering just how vital this muscle mass is for fighting disease, managing inflammation, keeping your metabolism humming, How might your everyday choices, the small things you do or don't do, be shaping your health trajectory down the line in ways you haven't really thought about?
Yeah.
If muscle really is this critical metabolic life insurance, what small, consistent deposits could you start making today to build a healthier, more resilient future?
A really powerful question to consider. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We hope this gives you some valuable insights for your own health journey.